Hi everyone, this is Ryan Hoyme, aka Massage Nerd, and I have a very, very, very special guest, a pioneer in the field, Ben Benjamin. Yeah, it's so nice to actually see you in person and stuff, and I've talked to you on Skype and my live show and everything else, but I've been following your stuff forever. It's been just amazing. And your injury articles, I mean, I just love them. Yeah, because back in the day I used to actually copy them and stuff like that, just so I could know where they're at all the time and stuff. And so, you know,
all on my website now.
Yeah, oh, perfect. So how'd you get started in the whole field then?
Well, when I was about 13 and a half, I got a severe injury in my back, and nobody could really help me. The doctors wanted to operate on me, and my mother said, well, what's wrong with him? We said, well, we don't know. We'll find out when we get in there. She didn't think that was a very good answer. So I found massage by a very talented man that was known as Dr. Kagan. He wasn't a doctor, but he had the finest pair of hands I've ever felt in my life. And he kind of took me under his wing and really trained me. So that's really how I got into it, starting when I was 13 and a half.
Okay, good. And then you do actually a lot of workshops, seminars, you travel all over the world and stuff like that.
I travel all sorts of places. Lately I've been traveling by webinar. It means you can stay in your house and you can teach all over the world. We have people staying up to 1 o'clock in the morning in England and Scotland and Norway, and because we do it at 8 o'clock at night, Eastern Standard Time. But most of the people, I'd say 3/4 of the people, see the webinars later. So they just go to my website, benbenjamin.com. They click on like a low back. They get all the low back webinars. They get like 9 or 10 CEs, and they can watch it, when they want to for a month. If they need an extra month, we give them 2 months.
Oh, that's so convenient, though. And what kind of topics do you usually cover then in your webinars?
Well, when we do the low back, we do it like in an hour and a quarter bite sizes. So we might cover sacroiliac ligament injuries only, and then iliolumbar ligament injuries of the low back, sacrotuberous ligament injuries of the low back. We do the neck, we'll do the ligaments on the side, in the back of the neck, TP7, which causes you pain down the scapula, do lateral ankle sprains, medial ankle sprains, very specific. So for an hour you really learn something. And we used to do it with video, but 20% of the people don't have a fast enough computer to do it. So what we did instead was I just put them online, and they can watch the videos right afterwards, and they can keep watching them. They can just watch them when they're on YouTube. And so they have a client on the table with a sprained ankle or a bad neck or a bad knee or whatever it is, and they can actually watch me doing it with them. So we can do the testing, we can do the treatment, so it's very convenient. So people seem to like it, and hundreds and thousands of people are doing these webinars, and they're great to do.
And then you also have a lot of guests too.
I've had guest speakers, and I'm going to have more. Tracy Walton did a wonderful series on cancer care. She's just fantastic in that. She's going to do another one on deep vein thrombosis and heart conditions, all sorts of things, and another series on cancer, maybe in another 6 months. And we had Tom Myers do a whole series, and he's great. He did a wonderful series on anatomy trains. In the future, we're going to have Whitney Lowe coming up pretty soon. He's going to do a whole series. Carol Osborne's going to do one on pregnancy. So we've got a lot of people, a lot of things coming up. Right now, I'm doing one on the hip and thigh. So we've done the hip and thigh, the knee, the back, the shoulder, the neck. We've done major parts of the body, and we're going to go through the whole body over time.
And I was just blown away by your knowledge when I had the live show and stuff like that. I couldn't sleep that night at all. It's just so...
Well, I got something for you. One of the devices that I sort of developed that people are now using all over the world is a little triangular piece of wood that I just taught in my neck class here at the festival. People just use this triangular block to relax their entire neck and shoulder area. It's got a round edge and a soft edge. It's got a hard edge or sharp edge, so people can actually relax their all the muscles that connect to the occiput. And so people are using that all over the world now, and it's been helping thousands of people for probably 30 years.
Invented then?
Yeah, something I invented with a doctor colleague of mine to just relax the whole neck and head area.
And is that accessible through your website too?
Yeah, you just go on the website, and we have like a retail price, and we have a wholesale price. People buy 3 or 6 at a time.
And you're also into active isolated stretching and all that stuff?
I love active isolated stretching. It's just phenomenal. I teach it, all over the place. I'll be in New Mexico in a couple of weeks teaching in New Mexico. and in Albuquerque. And it's so wonderful because it's great for people who are injured, helps them get better faster. It's great for people who are athletes, it helps them get better, stronger, more flexible. It's great for elderly people because, you know, their joints stiffen up, their feet, they can lose their balance. This thing just completely changes their lives. Personally, I'm more flexible now than I was 20 or 30 years ago. Because I did, when I first started active isolated stretching like 3-4 years ago, I had it done 6 hours a week. I had 6 hours of sessions a week because I realized it was changing my body. It was remolding my fascia, my musculature, and so it completely transformed my whole body. I can do things now that I could never do. My hands, my wrists, my feet, my toes, my back, you know, things I could never do before. So, and what I discovered was that it was not only good for people who were healthy to be healthier or injured, but it was good for people who had neurological diseases. And I've been around a long time doing this, and I've never seen any kind of body work that really helped people with neurological diseases. And I've heard a lot of things, I've tried things, nothing. But this transforms people who have Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, polio. It's just amazing what it does. I have one woman right now who she couldn't walk without dragging her foot for 4 years. She couldn't sleep for 5 years through the night. She couldn't write. People who have Parkinson's can't write because their handwriting gets smaller and smaller as they go, and they can never write an M or an N. Forget it. Impossible.
Okay.
And so, and many other symptoms.
Yep.
Pain in the arm. And after just twice a week for a couple of months, actually after a month, the foot dragging stopped. Oh, another thing, she hadn't combed her hair with her right hand for at least 4.5 years. And all of a sudden she just picked it up and started brushing her hair. She couldn't believe it. All of these symptoms disappeared within a couple of months. And now she's stronger than almost any of my clients. We do training to make her strong, and we do isolated stretching to stretch her out. I use the isolated strengthening techniques in the beginning, and then I'm using some more very heavy weighted techniques with weighted squats and kettlebells, all sorts of things. And she's got practically none of the symptoms she had several years ago. Still shakes a bit, not as much, but she can do all sorts of things that she could never do before.
Yep. And what I love about you too is, you said before that if you can't totally treat a person, you'll actually recommend them to somebody else too and stuff. So
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so
I remember.
It's nice. That's I mean, you're so many people. I'm going to do whatever I can to fix this person or help this person out, but you're willing to know that this may be out of my scope a little bit or something else.
I mean, I call those the teenage years, when you think you can fix everything. But you can't. You know, somebody's not eating well, they need a nutritionist. You're not going to help them.
Yep.
I had a woman come, she wanted to get more flexible, more healthy, and her cranial rhythm was like non-existent. She really needed some cranial work. So I sent her to her, I said, look, I can't treat you unless we get your energy back up because it's going to be too much for your body. So she went for a year to this cranial osteopath that I work with, and then she came back. She was incredibly better. We worked together for about a year, transformed her whole body, and she's doing absolutely great. But I didn't work with her because I knew I couldn't help her. She couldn't take what I did at that moment.
Yep.
So it's very important to refer out when you can't do it. If you can do it, it's great. Yep. I mean, if somebody's eating, you know, like Twinkies for breakfast and just salad for lunch, and they're having barely any protein, or they're having, you know, eating out a lot, eating poor quality food, you're not going to really be able to help people fully. So I work with nutritionists, and I send people to learn how to eat well, learn how to cook if they don't know how to cook. People don't want to exercise, I say you've got to hire a trainer. And I send them I send a trainer to their house with their permission.
Yep.
And they learn to do a program. And some people won't do it. So I say, okay, you're going to have to do it 3 times a week with the trainer. Other people, they need a trainer once every 2 weeks to give them something more interesting to do. And they're very good at doing it themselves.
Yep. Just amazing. And then what's on next for your horizon? What's the future that you're going to be doing then?
Well, we're going to be doing lots of webinars because people seem to love, you know, doing them. And they do them later or they do them live, it doesn't matter. And I'm also finishing writing a book with a couple of co-authors on communication. Most people don't really know how to communicate very well. And I think a success in your business, whatever it is, and a success in your life has to do with how you communicate with people.
Yeah.
And most people are very poor at it. And then most people think it's the other guy that doesn't communicate very well. They don't usually think it's them.
Yeah.
And so I've been studying communication for maybe 30 years. In about 13 years, I discovered a system that was developed by these two very brilliant women, Yvonne Agazarian and Anita Simon. And they created this system called SAVI, the System for Analyzing Verbal Interaction. And in the spring, I think in the spring, we're going to have a book coming out called Conversation Transformation. And we're hoping it will make a big impact in the world, because people don't know how to talk to each other. They don't. How do people resolve conflict? They kill each other, they yell at each other. Every 6 minutes, a woman in the United States is abused and beaten up. Yeah? And I give you all kinds of statistics, but they're all more horrible than the next one. People don't know how to talk to each other. They can't express themselves. So our book is talking about what gets you in trouble. When people, say something like, "Oh, right, you're going to do that." How do you respond to that? It's a sarcasm, which is a piece of information the person has that they have trouble communicating. And so how do you get under that? What do you do? Or if somebody attacks you and say, "That was really stupid," how do you respond to that? If somebody says, "Yeah, that's a great idea, but what do we do it my way?" How do you respond to yes, buts, what we call leading questions? Yep. Don't you think this is a great idea? That's not really a question. It's really an answer that I want you to give me the answer that I just told you. Yep. It's really an opinion couched in a question form. Yep. Or I might catastrophize something we call negative prediction. I know it's just not going to work. And people tell themselves those things, and they don't succeed in life oftentimes. Or they think, "Oh, you don't like me. I know you don't like me. Oh, no, you don't. You don't feel good." So that we call that mind reading, and you don't know that I don't like you. Basically, something's bothering you, and why not ask? So we teach people techniques and methods, and we have a whole section about Neuro Plasticity in the book, which is really about the brain, that the brain can change. And in order to create new habits, you have to do one thing. You have to do several things. You have to be aware, you have to take some action, and then you have to practice. Because a habit kicks in like 0.2 of a second. So if somebody says something to you that's challenging, and then they say, "Yeah, that's great, but that's not going to work," you're going to react again back to them. How do you do it in a different way? How do you ask a question? How do you move toward what the person's really trying to say to you? How do you find out the information that we say is embedded? So this whole book is about how you learn to change your behavior. And we hope it has a big impact in the world.
That's amazing stuff. So that's coming out soon then?
It'll be coming out in the spring by McGraw-Hill is publishing it.
Okay.
So it'll be probably an ebook and a book on paper. Okay. And we'll have all sorts of things online on our website, games you can play to learn, pre-tests and post-tests to see what you learn, all sorts of stuff.
You're always cutting edge.
Always doing all sorts of new things.
Yeah.
Active isolated stretching and strengthening changed my practice completely. Nutrition, when I learned about that, it changed my practice. When I learned about, really exercising to create power and strength in the body, a group in Florida, Gainesville, called Go Primal Fitness, I learned a lot from them. Actually, one of the people was a student of mine who now knows more about some things than I do. So I went to study with him. Yep. So there's lots of stuff out there to learn, and I'm always trying to do better things with my clients. And I'm trying to move into a sort of a different part of the world, how people communicate, how people hurt each other, how people feel bad, and how they can transform that into something, really different. And I'm not going to be able to, teach so much anymore. Yep. So I've got tons of DVDs on the neck, on the back, on the knee, etc. Then I've got all these webinars, so I can keep teaching forever, and forever. And I think my kids are going into the field, so they can just continue to have me teach, on the benbenjamin.com for the next couple of 100 years or something.
So again, the best way to get a hold of you is benbenjamin.com.
benbenjamin.com. Yeah. You can email me. I'm listed in the book. You just type in that name, and I'll come up on the first page.
It's always a pleasure.
Hey, nice to talk to you.
Thanks, everyone.